He's also a fellow of the Institution of Engineers here in Ghana. He also is with the American Society of Civil Engineers. He is a sports journalist, as many of you would have known if you had watched the Barcelona, Atlanta 96, 92 Olympic Games. He's also served as press secretary to the Venerable Kufuor. He's had many, many different, ways of serving his beloved New Patriotic Party, right from the Professor Albert Dubois days on to when President J. Kufuor became president. He served him diligently until 2006. He's also been a general secretary of the New Patriotic Party. This morning, he's my guest, Engineer Kwabena Agyepong. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm very fine. Thank you.
Good to see you.
It's good to see you too. It's been a while since I came to the studio.
Right. Things have changed.
Well, it looks good. Moving forward. That's right.
How have you been these days?
I'm very well, very healthy. I thank God for my life. I'm okay.
I was glancing through your biography, or if you like, your life story.
Yeah.
Interesting how you started off. You spoke fondly about your family, your father particularly, who had insisted that you had to go to Infantsville, whether you liked it or not. But before that, you topped the common entrance in your school.
Yes.
How did you do that?
Well, when I was young, I was quite intelligent, I don't know about now. It got to a point in life I thought perhaps my year group I was the most intelligent,
Right.
So there were a few Margaret Aponsa, Comfort Pukumensa, when we were in stage 6 at Royal International School in Kumasi, where I schooled. And those were the ones who were always competing with me. But I got the highest at common entrance, one of the highest in Ghana at the time. In fact, at that time, I felt I was the best student, only to come to Infantsville and see others from Morning Star, Rich Church, Radiant Way.
Right.
And so it was a wonderful opportunity. But
what was life like in Infantsville School? You were library prefect?
Yes, that was in 6th form. I became library prefect. Right. But in those days, now I've always been an eternal believer in the boarding school system. In Form 1 in our court in 1974, we had farmers' children. Right. We had former ministers' children. Right. We had businessmen's children. Everybody from different parts of the country. Eric Nomo was a Krobo. There are other people from different parts of the country, and we were together. And you build a bond in your court, as a young person. And in those days, they'll wake you up at 5:30, discipline. You have to be woken up. Right. You have to go and lay beds. And that's why I lay my bed very well. Even my wife sometimes gets a bit fussy about it. But I think
because you learned that from school. I
learned that from school. You have to go and lay the senior's bed in Infantsville before you can come and lay your own bed. Oh, okay. And you dare not make a mistake, because when we come for inspection on weekends, they will inspect your fingernails. They will check your trunk, whether your things are properly organized. Right. And if you lose any marks, then it means that you won't have an exit to go to town. And then, the house prefect will punish you because you've cost them a lot. Right. So those are memories of Infantsville were great. I mean, the discipline. And when you're in Form 1, you have the seniors in upper 6. Right. The gap was so big. And those are your formative years. So they teach you a lot of things. They bully you. Right. In Infantsville, they used to really beat us up. Pull your nose, let you stoop, but we enjoyed it. I think it toughened us, and it made us better people. And that's why I've never liked this JSS system where people have to stay at home till they are 15 and they develop all the bad habits and they never change.
Do you think we're rushing the present generation through school?
I think that if we can ever go back to the original system, we should go back to it.
O-level, A-level,
yes, because in those days, when you finish O-levels, 17, 18 years, you can go off into the army, the police. You were a man. When somebody was a graduate from O-levels. And then after that, you can come to 6th form for 2 years, and then you can branch off, whether you want to continue in a technical area, security services, do business, or go through the humanities at the university. Right. I think that was a much better system. It was more equitable, and it gave the opportunity for students all over the country to mix up. Okay. Right now, you are keeping them in their set location for a very long time, and it doesn't help the cohesiveness of the country. Right. That's what happens, because in those days, we had students coming from Osim, LA, local authority middle school, and they'll make it to Infantsville.
But that's what the free SHS is largely, about. That nobody
I don't like the JHS
restricted
system because you are kept in your locality up to about 15 years.
Right.
One
school.
Yes.
From primary one all the way to
and
J.
it's not good. There were guys who came to Infantum at 10 years, 11 years. I was 12 at the time. And these are your formative years. Right. If you stay at home and you come from a family that is a bit well-to-do, you won't sweep, you won't know how to lay beds, you won't wash toilets.
You won't weed.
You won't weed. So they grow up, by the time they are 15, 16, you push them to SHS. They are there for, these days are here two and a half years.
3 years.
No, it's not long enough. In Infantum, 7 years. And you go through, when you see your Form 2 student, who's even just 1 year your senior, even today, when I see my seniors, I still call them senior.
Right.
Because you feel that kind of sense of respect that it was imbibed in you right from Form 1. And those were great days. And I think it has got a lot to do with the breakdown in general discipline in the country. I mean, today, people talk to their seniors without any respect. It's against the Ghanaian culture. Right. We used to respect seniority, age. Even if you want to disagree with someone, you have to do so with respect.
That's right.
In a cultural way.
That's right. So you think back to the basics. But that would be difficult, would it not? Well, given the length we have traveled now.
It doesn't matter. I think that we can go back to basics. We can go back to basics. It depends. You can put together a plan to do it. I love the common entrance system, where everybody took an exam at around 12 years. And it was all for the whole of West Africa. It was organized Sierra Leone, Gambia, Liberia, Ghana, Nigeria, and it was very equitable. And I think that that's kind of education that we are missing today is hurting the country.
Why did you decide to get into engineering?
That's a difficult one. My father was a lawyer, so and he wanted me to do medicine. Okay. But somehow I'm someone who is fussy about blood. Okay. In fact, if you are unfortunate and I come and meet you after an accident, I may run away and leave you to die. Oh, really? Not because I can't stand it. Because when I was a kid, I saw an accident in Kumasi, in Shiaiso, and it's been on my mind ever since. And it's difficult, horrific for me to describe it for your viewers, but I never liked it. But you don't come across as a soft person. No, I'm not, but I have a lot of empathy, and I like to gyrate towards the underdog. I like to support people who are in trouble. That's my nature, maybe because of my background, maybe. But in Infantum school, I had some good seniors. Fatana, who was Samuel Apenting, who was my senior, and then Amankwa, who was also my senior. Both of them did chemical engineering, but we were in sixth form together. I was in lower six, they were in upper six, and I inherited their books. In those days, when you are leaving to campus, you hand over your books, and Amankwa happened to be the library prefect, and I inherited his position as well. So I knew that I would do engineering. Right from there. Yeah, right from then. We had our mates. I quite remember one, Samuel Osamdudu. He's a Methodist priest now in America. But
so you have to bring back the photo. I want you to identify quickly there. Oh, I see some old days in the photo.
This is sixth form. I can show you. The one on the left, seated down is lawyer Quino. He's now the chairman of the Lands Commission.
Oh,
Alex Quino, left. And then you can see Philip Addison. Philip Addison, the lawyer. He's in between, you can see. Philip, I see him. It's like the second row seated. Yes. And I'm on the far right. Unfortunately, I don't know what had happened to my tie. But, this was sixth form. Sidney Cranting, sitting next to Quino, was our head boy. I was the library prefect. Francis Grant, he owns a big hotel in Cantonments. He's there. Ransford Addo is a medical officer in New Zealand. Andrew Daniels. Andrew Daniels is a lawyer in Accra. His father was Professor Daniels, former Minister of Education during Liman's administration. So, unfortunately, Felix Crabb has passed. These two have passed. Crabb and Mark Bruce, they died. And Pinto is still alive, the one on the right. He came from, I think, Achimota to sixth form. He used to play very good hockey. Pinto,
wow. I see how you're beaming with smiles seeing these pictures.
It gives you goose pimples, when you see these things. These are Richard Hayford is in LA, you know, so he used to stay just across here in Kanda.
Okay.
You know, so those were our times in Lower Six.
Lower Six, interesting. You said earlier that you have a lot of empathy. That I'm not sure many people know that, because people say you are arrogant. Are you?
Really?
Yes.
I'm happy. We had this program before this segment, and the award is talking about juvenile football.
That's right.
I've been operating a juvenile team for over 25 years in Adabraka. I named it after Diego Maradona because I was also a sports broadcaster.
That's
and
right.
I love
That's
Maradona.
Right.
And I named it Argentinos Juniors. That was Maradona's first club in Argentina. Okay. And it's still there. Right. And the last time I watched the Black Stars play Japan last week, the goalkeeper, Lawrence Atizigi, one of my boys. Oh. Yes, from Argentinos Juniors.
That's your gift to Ghana.
That's right. I've produced a lot of footballers. Isaac Vosa, Prince Tego. These are all players I produced at the juvenile level. And so when I was looking at the story, I could feel it. I still pay out a lot of money every week for them to go and play across Accra. Okay. You understand? Buy their boots, balls. And at juvenile level, nothing comes back in.
That's right.
And that's why it's important that the monies that the Black Stars make at the World Cup, it has to filter down to where we produce. There has to be a production line of talent for our national team. And we are not seeing that. Those of us at the local level, because we have to pay for referees, we have to pay registration, we have to kit the team, we have to provide food for the kids in the morning. Transportation. So when they are going away, it's a lot of money.
Okay. We'll have to come back to it, but I'm hearing some information, unfortunate information at the Islamic Secondary School in the Ashanti region. We were just talking about discipline a while ago, a shooting incident. So we'll cross over now to the Ashanti region where man is standing by.
Yeah, the same thing.
Welcome back, and as I told you earlier, there's some trouble in the Ashanti region. Ibrahim, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, Johnny.
What can you share?
Johnny, it's not pleasant this morning at all at the Islamic Senior High School. In fact, as you can see behind me, a couple of the ambulances are arriving batch in batch to pick some of the students to the hospital. A number of them are traumatized. At least I've been able to count not less than 30 of them who have collapsed and have been carried to a nearby hospital to stabilize them. Most of them are females. Apparently, the police were here shooting sporadically. In fact, I have, initially we engaged the police, they told us they were not using live bullets, but we saw some of the live bullets. In fact, I can even show one on the screen. This morning, the students decided to march on the streets. There's this road in front of them from Agyepong Junction to Bushen and other things. This is a new road that has been constructed, and the drivers usually drive there at top speed. So they tell me that this year alone, their students, at least 8 or 10 students have been knocked down by vehicle. So just last Friday, a teacher from the school was also involved in an accident just at the entrance. A vehicle knocked her down. So this morning they decided to express their displeasure because they have consistently written to the highways to erect speed ramp there, but to no avail. So they decided to stage a protest to draw the attention of authorities. So they were moving there when the police met them on the way, and they decided firing gunshots. So the students were even running. They ran back to their schools. The police chased them, and in their school, they were also firing.
Ibrahim, I see some activity behind you. I'm interested in that. Some students on the floor. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Can we see that? Yeah.
A number of them who I would say have been traumatized are on the floor. So they are being attended to. Some are not even opening their eyes at all. Some are also unable to breathe well. So, like I said, more than 30 of them so far, and ambulance keep coming and going, taking them to the various hospitals. So we have some ambulance service personnel here who are even trying to stabilize those here before they will be sent to the hospital. So it's a bit of chaotic this morning. Academic activities have come to a halt. But like I told you, when we got here, we engaged the police. They told us they did not fire any live bullets, but we saw some of the live bullets and even the shells there. So authorities are also doing what they can to make sure that calm will return so that academic work will begin. But today, I doubt whether they will be able to.
Ibra, I see some individuals in green T-shirts carrying some individuals also into the ambulances. Are you able to confirm whether or not they are staff of the ambulance service or these are school cadets?
No, these are school cadets. We have staff of the ambulance service, which they are not many. I've seen one, every ambulance has one of them. So it is the school cadet team that are assisting them carry the people to the various hospitals.
Do we know who the leaders of this demonstration are, which has occasioned this unfortunate incident?
So for now, we cannot tell who the real leaders are, but I'm told some teachers were involved who currently have been picked up by the police, because according to the police, they were not informed about the demonstration. So when I got here this morning, I realized that a few of them have been picked up by the police, but no student has been picked up because of the charged atmosphere. They do not want to do anything that will further and create more tension here. In fact, just some few minutes ago, the school authorities managed to move all the students, most of them, I would say, back to their dormitories and their various classrooms, even though academic activity is not going on. Because when they came here, you know, as usual, and some of them were making noise, some were threatening to be face the police. So that is it here. But like I said, most of them are traumatized. You speak to them.
Okay. Again, finally, before you go, the police, you are saying that or suggesting that you have seen pellets of live ammunition, which has been used contrary to what the police says. There was no use, or there were no use of live ammunition. Have they been speaking to you beyond that after you showed perhaps proof?
Well, they have not. They said they will give us information in due course. In fact, the police on ground started speaking to me, but along the way, he received a call from the regional command that all information should be channeled to the police PRO. So he stopped granting the interview along the line and told us to go to the police PRO for further information. But for the police, what they are telling me is that they will remain on the ground until they are satisfied that absolute calm has returned before they will leave the school premises. All
right. Ibrahim Abubakar, thank you very much indeed for your time. That's quite unfortunate. An incident we just brought to you. Breaking news is that the Islamic Secondary School in the Ashanti region has experienced some gunshots, demonstration. You saw the ambulances there. Some of the students, we were told, are traumatized. We'll follow up and bring you some more detail at midday on Midday News and also on News 360 and all through our platforms on social media and everything. So you stay with us. But back to the conversation, Engineer Kwabena Agyepong is still here with me. I don't know if you have a word or two. But
yeah,
we're just talking about discipline a while ago.
Continue our interview in view of what is, what has happened, which I find very difficult to comprehend. I mean, these must be students unarmed,
right.
you know, so I'm surprised at the excessive use of force. And also the fact that the response of the emergency services appear very feeble. I mean, I saw quite a number of students not being attended to by professional medical workers.
Right.
That is something that worries me, because when situations like that happen, you expect quick response from
That's right.
the
EMT.
You know, so that's what I'm worried about. The students are trying to help, but that should not be the case. And this Agyepong Junction is quite close to Konfanochi.
That's right.
There should be immediate assistance. And as you can see from the pictures, there's no assistance for these ladies lying down. Whether they are traumatized or not, they need some immediate professional attention. Yeah. And that is not forthcoming, and that's very worrying.
Does this tell on our healthcare system in this country?
Well, it does. I mean, I think healthcare in this country is something that needs to improve. You just have to visit our so-called top hospitals, whether it's 37 or Kolebu, and go and see the state of the... It's not the best. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. You go to those places, there's a complete lack of maintenance culture.
Yeah.
And what worries me, all the time, you see new buildings being put up, but the old ones are not being properly maintained. Even the architecture, the colors, you know, you travel outside and you go to a hospital, the colors are so light, it lightens your mood even when you are in pain.
That's right.
And in most of our hospitals, sometimes you wonder, you know, it's so dark and depressing, and, you know, and we should do something about it. And I'm sure there are architects with the Ministry of Health who would have experience and have knowledge about how to do some of these things. And then also to clean up the hospitals round the clock. Maintenance culture is absolutely vital. And that's something that I don't see, you know, and we have to work hard on that as a country.
Interesting. Well, you can join us with your thoughts and comments. My guest is Engineer Kwabena Agyepong. Well, let's try and get back to our conversation. I think this is worrying, though, but let's have our conversation. I want to hear a lot from you. We've missed you on the airways, so we want to hear from you as well. Let's take a look now at the, you know, you've been press secretary before.
That's right.
You've been a communicator, broadcaster. Are you satisfied with the way government business is being communicated to the people?
I think it's...
For example, 307 ambulances have been procured by government.
Well, I think more importantly, we have to look at our country where we are.
Okay.
And not too long ago, I think we were celebrating 30 years of democracy.
That's right.
It's important that sometimes we go back into history. Because according to current statistics, about 60% of our countrymen are below the age of 30.
That's right.
60%. So every 10 people you see, 6 of them don't really know what the country has been through. The life journey that Ghana has traveled for these 65 years, the first 35 of which, very chaotic. Coup in 66, counter coups 67, 68, handover in 69, another coup in 1972, more coups to try and remove. I quite remember as a kid, there was a very threatening coup that they said one man, one machete, if you've heard it before.
That's right.
You understand. And before the Palace coup of 1978 and the revolution in 1979, you know, so you go through all that 1981 and the kind of country that existed for close to 20 years. Military dictatorship, we were made to sleep at 6 o'clock, then 8 o'clock, then 9 o'clock, for several years. In fact, Ghana's night economy simply disappeared and collapsed, and we have never been able to recover. There were times in the past that companies were running shifts. There were night workers in this country, and it used to happen. These things have been damaged forever. And so sometimes these days when I hear, of course there are current shortcomings, and we have a right to criticize government and make our voices heard if we are not happy with what is going on. But when I hear people talk about coups and other things, those who haven't lived through it, I think it's incumbent on some of us who went through this transition, those of us who lived in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, to be able to share with the younger ones that this form of government that we have, what we call democracy, where the majority rules, is much better than anything we can think of. However bad we think the shortcomings may be today. You know, so it's absolutely vital that, especially some of you, you are the ones in the media, go back into the records. I quite remember President Kufuor, the National Reconciliation Commission, whether you've seen some of the tapes, what Ghanaians went through, the pain, the suffering. People lost their businesses. People had to run out of this country. People died in penury and pain without recourse. That gave them an opportunity to vent.
Just Samoa's achieved.
That's right, that commission and all that. I think it's important from time to time to give us reminders. To give us reminders so that we guard this democracy that we have.
So you say after 30 years, the people making those calls are saying those things out of ignorance?
Well, if you have lived through a coup like I did, and apart from personally suffering trauma myself, I've seen colleagues who lost their parents because of an insurrection. You know, soldiers could bump into a household, kill the man, kill the wife, kill the dogs, kill everybody there. Irate soldiers. And in fact, in Kumasi, there was a weekend of terror in 1982. Because if you've heard of...
You've been a victim as well.
You know, so I think that we have to protect the democracy that we have. And also, those in charge of running our country have to recognize that they have a charge to keep. To do what is right by the country and to respect the mandate of the people. That is absolutely vital. So we cannot take things for granted, take Ghanaians for granted, and think that that can never happen again. We should not allow it to happen again.
30 years on.
30 years on.
What is there to show?
Well, I said we have a peaceful country all around the world, wherever you travel to. And I do a lot of traveling, especially over the last 4 years as executive director of the Ghana Institution of Engineering. I quite remember in March when I went to the World Engineering Conference in Costa Rica. The fact that you mentioned the name of Ghana, everybody sees it as a beacon of hope for Africa because we've had a very consistent democracy, changing governments by counting heads, not cutting heads. You know, so that is very important. Now it is duty-bound on leadership to up the game. And I have said that there are certain changes that we should make in this country because running government has become too expensive. And I think that it has created a certain mentality for those in politics and the society to lose confidence in political administrations because people see very bad examples. Young people who've never worked before get into politics and overnight
they're rich.
They become rich. And we don't do lifestyle audits. These are things we should do. So it's absolutely vital that those in political authority, both parties, have to recognize that they are there for the people. They are not there for themselves. Right now, the impression is created that political parties come into office for themselves and for their party supporters. No. Once you swear the oath of office, you become president of the whole country. You are supposed to ensure that everybody is treated equally and properly and create the environment to build that country. I think it is time for a new era. Okay? My life is based on three... Yes, my life is based on three principles. Service,
selflessness,
sacrifice, and selflessness. And I do believe that if you don't have these traits, don't get involved in politics. I was press secretary to President Kufuor for close to 6 years.
Do you miss those days?
I do, because I served my country with a gusto. I didn't have to pile up houses. No, I don't need that. And we need to communicate to the younger generation that that is not what the world is about. You look at Ghana now, we are all on a wild goose chase for materialism. Materialism won't take you anywhere. This clamor for the real estate of it, I don't know. I think it's something that we have to, some of us have to speak up against. No, that's why I talk about a new era. People have to recognize that public service is exactly what it means, service to the public. Not lording it over, enjoying the perks of political authority and running around showing off. It's something that has to stop and stop now.
But President Akufo-Addo said that I shall protect the public purse. He said, look, if you want to make money, don't get close to my government because that's not what I stand for. That's not what I want to do. If you want to make a fair assessment of that declaration and, you know, now, 6-7 years on, what will be your
I don't want to personally sit here and assess things. I think the Ghanaian people would hand their assessment at the end of the second term. And really, they've given an indication at the end of the first term. The NPP, my party, We lost a lot of ground. That should tell us that the Ghanaian people were not happy with the way we ran things.
But your government is determined to break the 8.
You see, it's not about just, I'm not interested in governing for governing purpose. I have always said, and I want to repeat this, my passion for the transformation of Ghana is very profound. We have to transform our country. A change in our psyche, change in our mentality, the way we do things. I cannot understand for the life of me, the Constitution talks about 19 cabinet ministers.
That's right.
Okay? And I think it gives you an inkling of what the size of government the Constitution would like us to have.
Right.
I've never believed in having large government. And I quite remember even working as press secretary, I had a few arguments with my boss, President Kufuor, because I think this country can run with no more than 20 ministries.
Really?
Yes, we shouldn't. Why? I mean, you have a Ministry of Transport, you have aviation, you have railways. That should not be the case. This is a small country of 35 million. We can consolidate a lot of the ministries and make sure we can have efficiency and effectiveness. That is how I felt, not now. I had a program right in the studio, Hot Issues.
That's right.
With Chrissy Pratt, when I was press secretary, when I was general secretary. And I made those exact statements at the time. This is what I've believed in. Lean, mean, efficient government so that you can have a handle of it and take control of it. For instance, we have what, 16 Supreme Court judges in our country now? That's too much. That is too much. I think we should have a cap of 9. We should have a cap of 9. You know, and especially with the Supreme Court, I do believe that we should not even let them retire. With law, the older you become, the more experienced you become.
Just like wine.
Like wine. In America, you have to die before you can be replaced. You know, because at the end of the day, when they go on retirement, they are retiring on their benefits.
That's right.
So you are paying them anyway. So why don't you get them to work? Our own big uncle, who is now a member of Council of State, Sam Okudzeto, is 85, still looking sprightly and young. If you are serving on the Supreme Court, he should be able to carry on. You know, and these are changes that we need to tweak to our Constitution. I don't buy the argument we should throw away the Constitution. Not at all. This is the best document we can have.
You don't believe that it's up for review?
No. Well, of course, you're talking about review.
Right.
People are saying we should throw
it away, right?
No, there are a few portions of it.
For example, Article 71. It's been topical.
Article 71
Article 71 holders. You just mentioned the Supreme Court judges who are all beneficiaries of Article 71.
Well, we can have a discussion on that.
The kind of load it puts on
the government,
purse.
the public purse. I think it's important. For instance, I've heard about the issue of ex gratia.
Right.
I do not understand why, if you are in Parliament, you finish a term and you are coming back, you should be given ex gratia.
You don't have.
You shouldn't. Ex gratia is when you are going, you're never coming back. It's like a parachute, you know, payment for you to survive because you've given so much to the state. I cannot understand for the life of me. So those who have been in Parliament for what, 5, 6 terms, like Bagbin and Chairman Sabonso, have been taking these ex gratia every year.
That's right.
It is wrong. What is wrong is wrong.
But we
have to change it.
We also have ministers serving the same capacity, rolling over 2 terms, and they still get ex gratia.
You shouldn't. That's what I'm saying. I think it is wrong. These are things that we have to speak about. It's when you are leaving office forever, you are not coming back, then you can be given that kind of payment. You know, but you can't come back and say it's a second term.
Right.
So, no, I think that is wrong. And especially in life, like in our homes, we are not allowed, or we should not be living above our means. You have to cut your coat according to your size. And that's simple economics at home. What you earn determines what you put on your table. You can't borrow and feed your kids with corned beef. By the time you leave on the earth, you have so much debt. And that is what is happening. We cannot be borrowing all the time just to survive. That is not right. So it is important that certain hard, fast decisions have to be taken about ourselves. Absolutely right.
The NPP is 30 years.
Yeah.
Looking at the tenets at the time of formation, you have had, served your party diligently, right, from the grassroots all the way to the top. Yeah. Would you say the NPP has lost its focus in terms of the tenets that informed its formation?
My heart bleeds today when I listen to the younger ones, and I worry for the the oncoming generations. Because the examples they are seeing, as I said, are the wrong model. You know, because the kinds of people that we saw, the likes of Agyepong, BJ Darocha, Kwesi Lamte, Amo Bediako, selfless people, J. Addison, Stephen Kreku, they were prepared to give something to the party. In fact, I was a very young man, 29 years at the time, working as a young civil engineer with the Ghana Highway Authority. Every month, religiously, we would make a payment into a fund.
From your own pocket? From
our own pockets. Young Executive Forum in those days. To go and support the party General Secretary, Agyepong, for him to be able to pay his bills. I mean, the Young Executive Forum were young at the time. Kwame Kojo Banredu, Akwesi Oseje, Dr. Heyman, Peter McMenu, Alan Shrematin, myself, Moses Osebonsu, Kwame Nabatels, Cecilia Dapa. You know, those were the days.
Professionals who had something to do.
It's important that people have to build their own professions themselves, you know, and not see politics as their main profession. Politics is a calling to serve your country, to serve your people.
Right.
You understand? So you have to be a professional. Of course, when I had my issues, I had to fall back on my profession.
Right.
Because I have a profession.
Right.
It's absolutely vital. If you look at the values that the likes of Coleman pay to, Arara Ponsa, Dr. Kwame Donkofojo, those were the people at the time.
Right.
Their own resources, their energies, they were prepared to die for this country. And they did so, and some of them did not even live to see Kufuor come into office in 2000. That is the sort of sacrifice I'm talking about. Not
you don't see that these days.
You talk to young people, and whether they are going to Tain or the TESCON, they think that, okay, quickly, the best thing is they will become some deputy minister, and then they will rise up to the... That is not very good. They have to learn from the history of this country. Go back when we were kids, living at Rich. I'll walk through to Ringway to just go and have a look at Ayekumi's house. You don't know Ayekumi. Nkrumah's finance minister.
Right.
That house used to be some big mansion that, as kids, we could go and look at it and admire. These days, when you pass around the place, it's rotten, dilapidated, there's nobody in there. That should tell you that material things don't last, they'll do nothing.
Are you worried that moneycracy seems to be
monetization of our
center
politics.
stage,
It
where
is
the
shocking.
quality of people who are coming up to give themselves up for national positions to lead both parties?
It is shocking that we have managed to monetize politics. As soon as 2014, when I was standing for General Secretary, I never paid any monies. I was determined to send my message. And I quite remember there were some ladies in Tamale who used to tease me. They called in local parlance because I told them, Ube to unto ejai. They used to call me.
If you want to vote for me, vote for me. If you won't...
You know, because I'm not one to come and dish out money. I don't have it anyway. Right. If I had it, I won't give it to you.
That's your money.
That is, I wouldn't do that. You understand? And I think it's very wrong that we try to monetize. Today, the kinds of stories I hear, and even some of them candidates admitting, I pay this much. It is wrong. We shouldn't do that. You are supposed to go and win the argument with your persuasion, you know, with your message. And people should recognize your contribution and what they think you can do for the country. I do believe that that is what has to happen in this country. That is the kind of political leadership we need in our country. And we need to ensure that we bequeath to the oncoming generations a new style, a new way of thinking about service to our country. It's not about, like I said, I was for close to 6 years press secretary to the president.
That's right.
I didn't add up to my real estate. There was no need for that. I built my house through my sweat as a consultant civil engineer, and that's where I still stay, and I'm fine and happy with it. You understand?
You prefer good name?
Of course. I mean, these things, you don't need them. When you grow up, you realize that all these material things is vanity. You don't even need it. These days, even getting up to come and spark my car at night to come out is a problem. The car just sits there. You don't need it. When you are young, you become crazy about these things. I want a Benz, I want that. You don't need it. And we need to teach the young ones that you don't really need it. What you need to survive is to be able to be nice. In fact, it's in the Bible. If you look at Philippians or John, look out for others.
Okay.
You know, my day is done when I have been able to put a smile on somebody's face. That's what I love.
Do you miss being General Secretary of the NPP?
Of course I did. I do still miss, because there were certain things that I wanted to do that I could not finish.
Like
especially the fact that I believe that the 275 constituencies should be like semi-autonomous fighting units for the center party headquarters.
Okay.
It's absolutely vital. Elections are held and declared at the constituency level, not at the regional level.
That's right.
The regions are supposed to be the coordinators, those ones who make sure things are happening and can report back to headquarters. And that was my view. And that's how come I empowered all the 275 constituencies, making sure all of them had accounts open with Ghana Commercial Bank, because headquarters has an account at Circle. Right. So if I want to transfer anything, and it goes there. With the press of a button, everybody is mobilized, and then we are moving. Give them the strength, give them the authority, and the latitude to be able to choose who they want. No manipulation. When time comes up for elections, let people who want to serve go out there, tell their story, and go and earn it. Go and win the confidence of the electorate. Our NPP, and I'm very happy that today we have close to 200,000 delegates who are going to decide who becomes our presidential candidate.
Right.
So nobody can buy all of them. You understand?
I get it.
Nobody can buy all of them. And those who want to lead have to go and earn it. And I hear all sorts of things. I want to repeat myself again. There will be no coronation in NPP.
There won't?
There won't be any coronation in NPP. If you want to lead, you hit the debt, go around the country, go to Amenfi West, go to Cape Coast, go to Himan, Lower Dejra, move around the country to Diaso.
You must earn it.
You have to earn it.
But
go and talk to the delegates.
But it does appear,
tell them why.
It does appear that the internal race for flag bearership is a two-horse race, a Baumia Alam
That is what
thing.
people think. I don't think so. Nobody has declared yet.
What do you think?
I don't think so. The ground has not been opened yet. I mean, in 2007, I was the youngest of the 17 presidential aspirants. I haven't ruled myself out at all of this battle. And I think it's very important that we let the Ghanaians know that our party has time-honored traditions. That decision cannot be earned through coercion or endorsements or force. You know, it has to be earned by people showing respect, going to the various places, going to Bumpurugu, going to Yonyo, Nalerugu, coming through to Talensi, Nabdam, talking to the party people.
You have the mapping your power.
Of course, I know. I've got a template. And,
does your party listen to you when you
talk?
When you say these things?
The grassroots are listening to me.
But does your party listen? The people who take the big decision makers?
The grassroots, please.
But the big decision makers?
The big decisions are taken by the grassroots. They'll decide who becomes a presidential candidate. There's no bigger decision than that. There is no bigger decision than who becomes a candidate for 2024. And that decision is in the bosom of the polling station executives, all 200,000 of them.
Do you have presidential intentions?
It's not news. I've done it before. I've said it here. I haven't ruled it out. You know, but the time is not up yet. What is important for me now as a country and as a party is to be able to use the channels that I have to the government to let them know whether there are shortcomings or not, through back channels, talk to them and say that, look, these are the expectations of the Ghanaian people. Are we meeting them? Let's meet those expectations. Because it's quite clear. You need the empirical evidence is there. If you had 1 million popular vote and 169 seat in Parliament, and it's whittled down to virtually parity now, and you know, you should know that something's not right. Is not right. And you have to be honest, humble enough to know that something is not right and make the changes that you are supposed to make to be able to give yourself an opportunity to win. It's absolutely vital. I believe in the machine of the NPP. These are dedicated patriots. It's not for nothing that we are called a new patriotic party.
I see.
You understand?
But the machine must be led. There are concerns down there that the present leadership of the party must give way for a new crop of leaders to come.
I always believe in the majority's decision. That's why we say we are eternal Democrats.
Okay.
So we are going to Congress. The executives who make up the 5,000 delegates will make a judgment.
Right.
They will make a judgment call. It's not for me to come and sit here and say they are doing well or not. They're feeling it. They understand it. They'll be in a better position to pronounce judgment. That's what I want to say.
You were General Secretary. Some believe that, look, you were treated unfairly, shown the exit on the basis of propaganda, lies, and things that were not exactly what they are. How do you feel sitting back and watching your beloved party with all the good intentions that you had?
I mean, I would have to admit that was a very low point in my life, because a party that I've given my youth, my all, and my service to this party is a matter of public record from Dubois Henne's time. Right. In those days, it's not now. There was no TV3. There was only one network in Ghana. And to sit on it as a 30-year-old during a military dictatorship and confront a military dictator who was transitioning into a civilian administration, to have the courage. At the time, there were elders around. Right. And I quite remember the meeting we had in Dr. Kwame Safodu's house in East Legon in those days. East Legon was just bush. I mean, today, when I get there,
it's a plush area.
It's a plush area. You can't believe it. And everybody's head went like this. And I quite recall one of the elders who's now passed, Dr. Selby, looking at me and said, you are the future of the party. Wow. You have to sacrifice and do this party political broadcast for us. Wow. At that time, I had been host of sports highlights for several years. So I had a national image and a public image.
You were a celebrity.
Yeah, well, of course I was a celebrity. Very young, because I was the youngest at 25 when I became host of sports highlights. It was unheard of in those days, you know. And although I was working in the public services, to come and sit on national television and get Ghanaians to support a Dubois, and it was not easy. You go to the work the next morning, and some of your bosses, everybody, when they see you, they take a byline. Everybody runs away. So I eventually had to leave after we lost that election. That election that I call a non-election, you know, we lost, you know, so I had to leave. When I look at the service that I had given to this party, even in those days, when you had to be a man to be on national television and say you are doing party political broadcast for the NPP. Again in 1996, a member of the national campaign team under Alhaji Isaka Inusa in 1996. That was the first time we were having the strong room in the Electoral Commission. The likes of Kwesi Pratt was there, the late Vincent Assise, Guzi Tando, representing the NDC, and many others. You know, that was the time that we fought hard and said, look, we cannot have the election conducted the way it was done in 1992. You understand? And so I served this party all with the gusto, right through there, through 2000, come press secretary to the president for 6 years, had an impeccable record. Nobody up to today can raise any debt on me in my time at the presidency. For people to sit in a room and conjure lies, you know, about me. And in fact, the official statement that the party released was totally different from the what we call the whispering campaign underground. Lying that I had benefited from a gift of a car, someone who started riding in a BMW 3 Series in 1994 for my engineering consultancy. And in 2007, as a the youngest of the aspirants, I had a 4-car convoy, including a Land Cruiser, a 4Runner, a Mazda. I am not capable.
Who was behind it?
I leave them to the Almighty. I'm not interested.
Have you forgiven them?
Of course. I mean, I have never been filled with the spirit of bitterness. What hurt me was the lack of procedure in what happened. And it was clear and vivid. And that elders of this party and everybody looked on for such injustice to be perpetrated against us. I thought that was atrocious. Because those who made the first petitions were not even in Ghana. The name was it Adreba, one guy called Adreba, and there's a second person.
There's a second, but I've forgotten that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You know, I don't even know them. I haven't met them to today. How can the disciplinary committee receive petitions from people, faceless people, and then they didn't even attend the hearing? Can you imagine? And the petitions never landed at the desk of the General Secretary. And quite recently, I heard Jumbodu say that all petitions have to go through the proper channel. And I was laughing. So today we appreciate that there's something called propriety and due process. So that is what hurt me. But, like, I'm very divine. I went to infancy. My father was a Methodist. He imbibed me in a lot of stuff, spiritual stuff.
Right.
and a member of the men's fellowship.
Right. So you have forgiven them?
Of course.
How is Chairman Afoko doing these days?
He's fine.
Are you in touch with him?
Not very much, but I spoke to him about a year or so ago. He's around. Sami Crab I spoke to not too long.
Okay.
He told me he was contesting for chairman, and I wished him well. You know, so
I see. Let's take a break. When we return, we'll get into some of that conversation. We haven't spoken about your engineering background and how we can tap into it for Ghana and many other things, youth unemployment and job creation, mentorship sessions, all of that. We all have all that down our sleeve. So we'll be back after the break with some more with Engineer Agyepong. Welcome back. My guest in studio is Engineer Agyepong, former General Secretary of the NPP. Also, he's the fellow of the Institution of Engineers here in Ghana. He's also the Executive Director of that institution.
Former,
and he's held so many other distinguished positions in this country as well. Press Secretary to former President Kufuor. Welcome back, sir, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Johnny.
Before the break, we're talking about Mr. Sami Crab looking forward to become chairman of the NPP. Technically, has he been, received back into the party because he was suspended?
I'm not in a position to pass a comment on that.
Right.
You understand? I had a letter from the party.
Okay.
Because I wrote to the party to request to find out what my status was.
Okay.
And so I'm back as a member of the National Executive Committee.
Okay.
As a former General Secretary. That's what the Constitution determines. So, but I mean, I know that he was we are all suspended as officers of the party.
Right.
Not our membership of the party. You understand? So that's quite clear.
It's a distinction.
It's a distinction. So I think that, yeah.
If you look at the presidency of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and what somebody, for example, said the other time, General Asedu Nketia, he said, for example, that if Nana Addo had not become president, we would all have looked at him as the president that Ghana should have had and never did. Now he's been president. He's brought you 3 SHS, 1 district, 1 factory, 1 village, 1 dam, 1 constituency, 1 million, all the other, projects and initiatives. Do you think that Nana Addo was the best man?
I've answered this question to you because it's not for one individual like myself to come and pass judgment on my own government. You understand? Of course, there have been quite a number of areas that we've done very well. I say so because perhaps my bias as a civil engineer, I look at the road network and there's been a lot of work on our roads over the last 4 years. I mean, I've lived in this country over the last 40, 50 years, and I don't think I can recall any time in the past that so many places have been touched, whether it's in the rural areas or capitals of various districts. There's been a lot of road works there, okay? But I worry about the maintenance culture in this country. And I think we need to put together a very strong maintenance culture. We are too interested in doing new things.
Right.
Unfortunately, any new project or any new initiative that comes in this country, people are rather using it as a procurement opportunity. And I do believe that we have to protect what we have and maintain it well. That is absolutely vital. Decision on the government, I think, is in the second year of his second term.
Right.
Ghanaians will pass judgment in 2024. You understand? And there's still a lot of time to correct a few shortcomings here and there. I think he knows himself. I'm sure he can look himself in the mirror and be able to make a judgment call. It's not for me to come and sit here and say that.
Should there have been a reshuffle? So some ministers have been shown the exit by now?
Well, like in football, I mean, even at halftime, coaches redraw their strategies, they bring in, make certain changes. Right. It's a norm. I mean, what is happening now, I would say, is a novelty. We haven't seen a government that has not had a major reshuffle for 6 years. Right. But that's his call. I mean, it's the president's call. It's his prerogative. It's not for me to come and engineer something like that. Right. I think that's for him to do. He's got over 40 years to prepare himself for this job. And I think that is a decision for him to take. I'm not going to be one of those pushing that there has to be this and that. Right. I thought that after the first round, after the re-election, the Ghanaian people had delivered a strong message to all of us. And I was part of the campaign when he invited me to support him.
You in your,
I supported
nicely ironed starched shirts with your jeans and your boots and your nice shoes.
Yeah, you know, and I think the message was very strong. The message was very strong. How he consumes it, how he imbibes it, I think I have to leave that to him. It's not for me to come and sit here and pronounce it.
A lot of young people gravitate towards you in terms of mentorship.
That's right.
And, you know, speaking to them. And most people don't know this publicly. But, again, it comes back to mentorship. Are we getting it right? The transition. So you speak about having a conclave of senior statesmen who told you, Kwabena, this is you. You are the future of the party. Go and deliver for us. Do we still have that going on?
We should. And if we are not doing it enough, we have to do it again. It's absolutely vital. I mean, when I was press secretary to the president, I had a lot of young people with me. I always believe in building a core of people.
Okay.
Quite a number of them are professors at Legon now. These are people I picked. The National Service trained them, mentored them, sent some out to France and China and Canada. You know, just to go and study the communication system. They came back. When we left office, I helped them in different ways. One is a lecturer at UMAT, one is head of China's department in Legon, and many others. Even the young ones like Pius Yajide, I picked him in 2000 as a student at Legon to come and run the Airway Advent, the fair-colored guy, you know. And as General Secretary, he was one of my PAs. You know, many others. Some are MPs.
Right.
You know, so it's important that we create a core of young people. I always learned from Buzia because it is Buzia's vision of 1969, investing in the youth.
Okay.
You know, the likes of J.H. Mensah was only 39 years at the time. Johnson Fureta, K.J. Osebunsu, Johnny Sel, they were all young people. Kufuor was 29 years deputy minister. If Buzia hadn't looked into the future and had that foresight, after Champion School and we were marooned for 30 years, it is this same core of people that revived the NPP. You understand? So it's absolutely vital that we imbibe them with the right principles, the values. As I said, the likes of Coleman Petu, J. Addison, Stephen Kreku, B.J. Darocha, they gave their life to the NPP without getting anything back. Jenny Boateng, Amu Bediako, Jemfi Bikai, you know, one of the biggest pharmacy shops in Kumasi, supported the party, never got anything back. These days when you talk to people, everybody is trying to take something out of the system.
What they can give and what they can get.
It is wrong. And we, those of us who were fortunate enough to live this transition, and this transition has not only taken us from military dictatorship to democracy, it's also taken us the technological change in the country. You are young, I can see an old telephone there, the ones that we used to ring, and I remember as a host of sports on national television, I brought the innovation of having the first live telephone call to the studio. Some of the technicians were arguing with me. I said, you get it done. The red telephone that you have to. I hope the GTV, the GBC, they have it in their museum and keep it, because that should be a museum piece. You know, it's absolutely vital that we bequeath to the following generations the principles of governance. Governance is about the welfare, especially the underprivileged. Looking out for those who do not have. If you don't have empathy, if you drive and you get to the traffic light and you see a Ghanaian woman with a child at the back with a load of sugarcane that you look at and it doesn't even cost 30 cedis and it's sweating in the sun and there's no pain in your heart, you have no business going around politics. Then don't go there. You understand? These are the kind of people, we need a critical mass of that kind of people in our politics. Right now, and especially the media also partly to blame. The place has become so chaotic, fractious, with wild allegations, attacks, insults, which is completely against the Ghanaian culture, goes against our grain. Like people sit on radio, spew the worst form of garbage. You can disagree with the president, but don't insult. That is the whole country in one individual. Don't insult. People are insulting chiefs. And now with the social media, you can be a host at home. And they say the most atrocious things. And people are urging them on. It is wrong. And I believe that when there's something that is wrong, We, the leaders of our country, have to say it. And I'm going on a one-man crusade.
To say them.
To say those things. There are a lot of problems that we face socially. Sexual harassment in this country is one elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about.
Who is harassing who?
If you talk to 30 young ladies who are looking for a job, they are being asked out. They are being asked for sexual favors. And we, the men, have to lead the fight against that. People have to be named and shamed for that. And it's wrong. You don't want that to happen to your sister. You don't want it to happen to your daughter. You shouldn't encourage it. It's very bad. Unfortunately, even the women, the so-called women who are fighting for emancipation, they never mention that. They never, ever mention that.
The gender activists.
The so-called gender activists. But that is the biggest problem in this country right now. And it's happening everywhere. Here in the media, the music industry, even in the ministries, in the banks. You know, people are touching people. It is wrong. You see, if we don't have a critical mass of right-minded patriots in this country who are prepared to put their life on the line. And I'm saying that I want to go to the party and talk to the party on the issue of monetization.
Right.
I will have no penny to give anybody. It doesn't matter if I get zero.
You think you'll be well received?
I would send my message across. That this is not how this party was built. It was built on the back of our sweat, our dedication, our sacrifice, and that has brought us this far. The 30 years that we have traveled, people suffered and died without getting anything in return. Those who think that politics is about going there, wreaking havoc and walking out, they have no business serving our country.
We're asking the young people of this country to be patriotic.
That's right.
But on the back of that, the young people cannot find jobs to do. Most of the young people are home, they're jobless, they are hungry. Can there be any meaningful patriotism without
there should be
food?
There should be. Patriotism has nothing to do with employment or not. I travel a lot, and you go to Europe, the poorest person is still patriotic. They fly their national flags on their houses when they don't even have jobs.
But when they see other people
that's
benefiting from a certain largesse, that's supposed to be for everybody.
That is what we have to put a stop to. And we have a country now that we are celebrating, not wealth, when people are flaunting money. We are celebrating vanity. That's what is happening in this country. People can line their cars and get the media, people like yourself, to go and film them and
cover them.
And in our time in school, especially when we were young in infancyhood, I mean, you want to be proud and say your father is a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, an accountant, a banker. Even those whose parents were big businessmen were hiding. Today is the other way around. We've flipped the coin. That shouldn't be the case. Life is not all about money. You don't need money to survive that much. Of course, the issue about unemployment is critical.
Right.
And now, especially as we are pushing out a lot of people from school, 100,000 almost every year, it's quite clear that the public services do not have room for that. They cannot absorb. So it means we have to be very innovative. An area that we should look at especially, in my view, that we haven't looked at all, that can really take on board people, and that Ghana has a competitive advantage, is tourism. It's tourism. And in Ghana...
Well, the National Cathedral, I'm told, will have some tourism twist to it.
I don't want
it not to have.
I'm
not
poisoning what I'm saying.
I'm not poisoning. I'm just asking you that...
I'm just trying to tell you
You're talking tourism. We have tourist sites and all of that. But I'm saying that we're also investing in an edifice that we're told will have a tourism twist. I'm just asking. I'm just applying fresh information.
For me. Okay. Thank you for that.
You don't like my information.
No, I don't. I'm just saying that if you look at I heard there was an innovative idea of the Marine Drive.
Right.
And I'm still waiting. Because you see, Ghana is only 5 hours, 4 hours from Europe, maybe 5, 6 from UK and many other places. And Ghana is seen as a beacon of democracy, stable. The people are very hospitable. The crime rate is very low and all that. And the tourism and the hospitality industry is the only industry that takes up a lot of people at a time. If you build a hotel right now, you're going to have barmen, you're going to have cooks, you're going to have waiters, you're going to have those who are going to work, security, technicians, electricians. It takes up a lot. So that is an area we should look at. it's an area we should look at. And if you look at the tourism, I mean, I look at some of our tourist sites. I hear the Museum and Monuments Board has been renovated after donkey years.
That's right.
You know, I went to the Kumasi Fort. Have you been to the Kumasi Fort?
I have.
The Army Fort?
I have,
and
yes.
you go and see some of the relics. It's amazing. You know, the uniform that the FIFA wore during the coup in '66 and all those things. You know, there are many things about our history that people will be interested in, but it means maintenance.
Right.
The Fort Jago and those forts along the coast
Sebastian
that have been left to rot. You know, just give it a touch of paint, create a history around it, and let people pay money to go and the tourist guides.
Let me pick your thoughts about this. The Minister for Works and Housing says we need 5 billion to solve our flooding problems. You are an engineer, specialized in water and environmental engineering. Are we getting it right in terms of trying to solve this flood problem?
No, we are not.
What are we doing
We've got the basics wrong because, again, I ask what is in a name. There used to be town and country planning.
Right.
Okay? And
nice planning a special
land use is a long mouthful. I'm a member of the governing board, representing the Institution of Engineers. You know, and my first minute I asked, what's in the name? Why? Town and country planning communicates itself when you hear town and country planning. Now nobody knows, you know, people don't even feel it. Now the implementing agencies which have become the district assemblies, do they have the technical capacity to deliver and make sure that an area is declared first, a planned area, before any infrastructure or building can be allowed? We have substituted planning permission with building permission in this country.
Okay.
That's a totally different thing. There should be planning permission first.
Okay.
So LUSPA or town and country planning should be developing plans, town plans, schemes, so that all the elements of the ecosystem that we need to have a thriving environment, the greenery, the fire belts, the sustainable drainage systems that you use, especially for temporary flooding areas and all that. Those things have to be incorporated into a design. I worship at Mount Sinai at Kwabenya. And when I drive from the Atomic Junction right to Kwabenya, I weep. Those swaths of land which used to be a drainage catchment for temporary storage during wild storms in Accra, those events have now been taken over and there's buildings all over. So where is the water going to flow? Where is it? The thing about urban drainage and flood control is that we have what we call 1 in 100-year event, which is very high, or 1 in 50-year event. You can't design for that because it's to be too expensive. We normally design 1 in 10-year or 1 in 25-year flood. You use that extreme event to design. Okay, so what do you do? What in contemporary engineering we call sustainable urban design, SADS, is to hold the water and slowly release.
Okay.
That is the principle.
So that the velocity...
you reduce, you know. And in times past, the green cover of Accra, if you look at a digital map of Accra from 1900, and I've taken time to look at it, till now, green cover, we've lost 65% of green cover. When it rains and there's vegetation, the water percolates. It doesn't run off. It only runs off when the ground is fully saturated, so you have a runoff. So when it rains, only about 20–15% runs off into the drainage system.
And now it's the other way.
Now, if you take over that area and you build a house, half of that land or real estate is now impermeable because you have a roof. So all the water that falls on the roof has to contribute to the drainage regime. In engineering, we have something we call pre-development drainage regime and post-development. In other countries, and for developed countries, when you are coming to develop an area, as an estate or a human settlement, they would let you put in measures to ensure that the pre-development drainage regime is quite close to the post-development. So you have to design things. Now you go to people's houses, they've tiled the whole place. 100% runoff. You know, so
into whose house?
Into the external storm drainage, which we do not have anyway.
So 5 billion really won't solve the problem.
I don't think it's just the money. No, don't throw money at it.
Okay.
It's not
That's
just
what
the
we've
money.
been doing.
No, don't throw money at it. Again, we have the situation has gotten worse. What I call the balkanization of the assemblies. In Accra alone, how many assemblies do we have?
Plenty.
I don't know.
Plenty.
I don't know what's the thinking behind it, because it makes it very difficult to manage the engineering functions, especially if you have DCs who are TEF crazy.
Right.
You understand? So perhaps it's time for us to isolate the management of the engineering functions from the political arrangement, where you want to collect your taxes and all that. Because in times past, we used to have the Accra Tema metropolitan area.
That's right.
So if you, and again, these small assemblies, I mean, there's every 10 houses, every 10 houses now is an assembly, because you move from Osu, you have one, Nima has one, Mamobi has one. It's a joke. It's something that I don't know how it happened and why anybody thinks it can be good. It's something that I also disagree. Because with engineering management, you need a holistic, what we call catchment-based design. If you want to look at the drainage of the Odo, in times past, when we did tracer studies, there's something we call tracer studies. You do it, when it rains in Ebri, it takes about 8 hours to get to Odo. Now it takes about 3 hours. Because everything, even the Ebri mountain itself, people are clawing at it. And who's giving them permission to do so? You are exposing the earth on a hillside. Once you take it off and it rains.
Are we looking at a disaster?
It can happen. Have you seen a landslide? I was in Sierra Leone 2 years ago to go and look at a landslide during the engineering convention. It can happen here. And people are building just over. It's dangerous. It's dangerous.
Let's wrap up. What is your principle on grabbing of state lands? Because you mentioned
what
the
people call,
Bafa.
I hate it. I hate it with a passion. I think from my own background, the way my family was driven out of our state bungalow when my father was killed, and it's going to be 40 years.
Have you forgiven them, those who perpetrated those atrocities?
If you don't do that, you won't live. You've got to have the heart, pray to God, and push it. Right. Then you can have a beautiful life.
Right.
And I think God has blessed me with a beautiful life.
That's right.
I don't have time to waste energy on people who commit those crimes. They can live with their own conscience, you know. And within 3 months, we were asked to leave. So I make it to the point, I will never live in a government bungalow. You know, when I was press secretary, I was given cantonments, I refused. I was given rage behind the Council of State, I refused. I didn't think there was a need. I had built my own house through my sweat as a civil engineering consultant when I left highways. And that's why I still stay in East Legon. Small, nice, simple place. That's all you need. You don't need any mansion.
You're content with what you have.
People are now sitting on radio talking, I have 100 houses, I have 30 houses. And journalists are hailing these people. This is vanity. We have to condemn that kind of behavior. So you are not setting the right example for the young people.
So you
they are aspiring to grab money, make money. State capture, wrong. I don't believe that people should buy state lands. The state belongs to all of us. All of us have an interest. How is it that the choicest places in Rage and cantonments, you apportion it to yourself, and then you on-sell to some developer at... you know, you make a lot of millions. Why? The state too can make money. The state deserves to make money. And in principle, as I said, I was in government for 6 years, close to 6 years. I never applied for one. I was never interested in it. I didn't like that idea. It belongs to the state. If we wanted to redevelop, the state can use the land as equity. The state would have equity in all those big estate developments that are around the country.
I hear you.
So, Johnny, I think I want Ghanaians and the youth to know that this country is worth dying for.
Right.
That's my concluding thing.
Would you lead the country as president one day?
I'm sure. Not one day, very soon.
Very soon?
Yes.
President Kwabena Agyepong.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming.
It's a pleasure.
We'll see you tomorrow. Our time is up here, but I trust you enjoy the conversation. I've seen your interactions on social media. Let the conversations be on. And let's think about the key things that have been said this morning, and let's come to the center and have a national thinking and for a forward march. I thank you very much indeed. Happy birthday to my beautiful wife, Regina Hughes. Today is your birthday. Also to Gershon Aklasu of the Passport Office. It's your birthday as well. Happy birthday. If you share this birthday with them, happy birthday to you. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good morning.